If you've been in sales management even for a little while, you've had or currently have some marginal sales performers. Do you struggle to move on from those performers? Well, in my experience, that's a typical problem, especially if they're not colossally terrible. Well, in this episode of Sales Untraining, I want to talk about why this could be killing your team and the steps you have to take in order to fix the problem. This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Welcome to Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs. So great to have you alongside. It is your weekly sales strategy guide designed to completely rewire your sales brain. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And I want to ask you, have you liked and subscribed to the podcast? Apparently that stuff matters. So I'm going to ask you to do that for me if you would. And by the way, more important to me, hey, share it with someone who could be a part of this conversation about sales training and the way we develop salespeople and all the problems that are associated with it. As we roll into this particular episode and begin to talk about the idea that leaders often struggle when it comes to letting go of marginal performers. You know how it works. Marginal performers. I mean, they're not bad. They're certainly not great. They're not A players. They're not A minus players. They maybe not even B players. Many times they're in the margins. They're in the gray. They're C. They're not killing you, but they're certainly not helping you. They're not contributing, and they're good people, right? I mean, we like them. They're good, positive additions to the culture, and you just think, boy, if their skill level was even a little bit higher, this wouldn't be a tough deal. I mean, if they were solid B plus players, could come in above 88, 90% of quota plan very consistently, I could probably be cool with it. But my problem is they're just not quite that good. And then you have conversations with those sales leaders and you can see them struggle and you can see what they're going through, because here's the problem that they have. You've probably experienced this. You've got a team of 8, 10, 12, 14 salespeople. Collectively, as a team, hit our number last year. Just barely. We made it. But, barely. But we made it. And the boss is happy and the company's happy and we're making money and all of that kind of thing. But the reality is I've got 2 or 3 superstars and a couple, 3 really solid people. But the bottom half of the roster is not that great. And, the bottom 3 or 4... I've got this nagging idea that, they shouldn't be on the team, but I can't pull the trigger. And I ask why. I said, here's the thing, Kelly. I'm just not convinced that I've done everything that I need to do to help them be successful. I probably don't spend enough time with them, probably haven't done enough training, et cetera, et cetera. And I hear this all the time. And I wonder how much money is being left on the table because we managed to get there as a group thanks to a handful of people. But I've got a bunch of people who are riding that train, but they haven't paid full fare, right? I mean, that's the analogy that works. And the question is, why haven't you done something about it? And they're like, I know. I need to spend more time training. I need to spend more time coaching. No, my question is, why haven't you replaced them? Now, you probably know the answer. Number one answer in a landslide. Kelly, I don't have time for that. What do you mean you don't have time? Well, look, they're not great, but I don't have the time to interview, hire, onboard, train, and develop. I mean, barely keeping my head above water, man. It's tough out there because I've got all of these responsibilities. CRM maintenance and budgets and reports and meetings with different groups, the ops meeting and the marketing meeting and this and that meeting, and I'm being meeting to death. On top of that, I've got customer visits. and I've got to deal with customer problems, and I help out with some of the technical, tricky proposals and bids that we do, and on it goes. I mean, when do you find time to do that stuff? And frankly, I don't have 3 minutes to spare. I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, which, if you think about it long enough, is never going to change. No, I mean, it's just never going to change, because it's like a hamster wheel, and I can never get off because I don't have time to fix the problems that are creating the problems. And a couple of weeks ago, I talked about solving the wrong problem, and this is kind of an offshoot of that idea. The systemic problems that need to be addressed is when you have better people, higher performing people, you don't have to spend as much time doing other things. But to have those performing people, I've got to invest in them. And I don't know how to get off that hamster wheel. Well, it's really interesting when you think about the issue and the problem, because I can answer your question. You haven't done enough. You just haven't. That's a fact. You haven't. You just described for me the fact that you haven't done enough. But I've got a question for you. If your boss came to you and said, look, we're getting rid of these 3 people, underperformers, looking at the numbers, they're not cutting the mustard. Come on, this is their second year at 65, 70, 80% of plan. They're not bringing in any new business. Their margins are declining. Whatever it is, by the numbers, we're going to cut them loose. Here's my question for you. Would you fight to keep them? Would you go, hey, hang on a second. I mean, you're talking about quality people here. I mean, a little bit of tweaking here, a little bit of tweak there, a little training, little motivation. They're going to take off. Is that what you do? The answer is no. Because you know what the most common response I get when I ask that question? And I go, you already answered my question. You've already answered. You really have to get out of this scenario. That's the problem that you're dealing with. You have to get out of this. If you don't get out of this scenario, you're never going to get better. Your team's never going to improve. And frankly, at some point in time, somebody's going to understand that you've got marginal people that have been with you a long time and you've not done anything about it. And that small crack in your armor is going to become a challenge. And you are leaving an enormous amount of potential on the table that would really drive your career and build your resume as one of the top people out there managing salespeople. I mean, yes, you have to get off the hamster wheel, but if you don't think your way out of that, if you don't figure out a way to handle it, you're going to be stuck where you are for a very long time. And my friends, listen to me. Unless you get some wild upturn in the market, it's never going to change for you. And even then, you're probably not going to grow as much as the market's growing. And anybody that's paying attention at some point is going to figure that out. So, I mean, the question is, if you wouldn't fight to keep those people, that means you need to replace them. And this is a systemic problem. You need better people. Now, clearly, you also need a methodology to improve your own personal situation to allow yourself to invest time in those people. I train leaders as much as I train salespeople. And one of the things that I tell them is that effective leadership is about changing the way you invest your time, because all those things you're involved in doesn't develop salespeople. And all the time you don't spend developing your sales team is time that's never going to return on your investment in that time, ever, right? Doing budgets and reports and meetings and CRM and all that stuff, it's never going to give you a return on investment. The only place you get a return is the time you invest in your people with customers, right? Helping them write new business and grow and develop as they do that, not stepping in front of them and doing for them. That's another train wreck. Okay. So I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you, because I can tell you already you're not doing enough. So here's my question. Number one question: are you doing weekly one-on-one meetings with your team? Now, if you've got 8 or 10 salespeople, you're already behind the 8 ball, because that's a lot. And it's really, the span of control gets out of control when you get north of 8. 6 is better, 7's manageable, 8's pushing it. I'd rather you had a team of 6. But if you're a regional manager or a VP of sales or something like that, you've probably got managers reporting to you. And now we've just extended that problem to the next level, and that's a whole nother level of evaluation strategically. Do you have the right sales managers managing people? And you need to be looking at them the way I'm looking at them. As if, are they getting across the finish line, but they're leaving a ton of money on the table because they've got people on the team that aren't effective, right? But that's my first question. Are you doing one-on-one meetings? Whether the answer is yes or no, let me direct you to a couple of episodes we've done in the past. Episode number 74, I dive deep into one-on-one meetings and why they're important and what they can do for you. If you go all the way back to episode 24, I had a guest, Mike Weinberg, and we broke down one-on-one meetings significantly. Both huge believers in one-on-ones because it's where a lot of great things happen. You're programmed in to regularly review pipeline, to give feedback, to provide coaching, to communicate more effectively, to get their input, to find out what their level of engagement is, to manage pipeline, and on and on and on it goes. If you're not doing one-on-ones, you're hurting yourself, okay? Because one of the ways you get off of the hamster wheel is to do a half a dozen one-on-ones each week, which brings you completely up to speed on everybody, and you will get all of the time you invest in one-on-ones, you'll get it back in multiples. That's a promise. And if you doubt that, contact me. We'll talk through it, and I'll show you how and why that works. Second question you want to ask yourself is, have you actually assessed the strengths and weaknesses of each individual salesperson? Do you have a real good understanding on paper of what makes them good and the things that they need to work on? Because if you do that, then you can attack the weaknesses and you can create a development plan and create expectations for them to respond to that development plan. And if they don't, then they're going to work their way out of a job fairly quickly. How engaged are they personally? Question number 3, are the people that are marginal performers, are they engaged? Are they contributing to their own learning and development? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do there. You can, for example, you can give them books to read and create book groups and reports out. And, you can address specific weaknesses from your assessment that they can address. But any salesperson who is not willing to invest in their own learning and development of their own initiative, that's a red flag for me. Now, sometimes they need to be led to the water. The question is, will they drink when they get there? But I need to present them opportunities to improve their own abilities on their own. Those salespeople that are waiting on you and or your company to do everything, probably not the motivation that you're looking for. And finally, question number 4. Do the salespeople in question, the marginal performers, do they do the little things? Do you have a lot of hints that they're probably not the right people? Do they enter all of their calls and all of their deals into CRM consistently? Are they prospecting consistently? The little things matter. If they're not doing those things now, the things that will contribute not only to their performance, prospecting, and give you an indication that they're engaging with CRM and doing all the functions you require of them, if they're not doing those things, don't you have your answer? No, I mean, it's a gut level check. If you won't fight for these people, then you have to ask yourself, why not? And typically the answer is, well, they're not willing to fight for themselves. And that should motivate you to make changes because it's going to impact your performance. Well, coming up next, I want to talk to you a little bit about your sales culture and what you have to do to set the table for a high-performance sales culture. Stay with me. It's not uncommon for people to contact me and say, hey, I just have a question about a specific sales challenge. Do you ever set up calls just to kind of kick some ideas around? But on occasion, I have done it. And the last time I did, there were 25 people who took advantage of it and had some really fantastic conversations about very specific sales challenges. Well, I want to make that offer to you today for a limited time. You can contact me, blkr.co/30. You'll find my calendar, book a 30-minute consultation to talk about you, a sales challenge that you want to get some feedback on anonymously, outside of, the chain of command. You just need some feedback or whatever. Nope. No selling, not interested. Just going to talk about you and what's going on in your world. blkr.co/30. Now, back to the show. And if you look at your current pipeline, and based on your current close rate, it only produces this much revenue and this is your number, then you have a gap, my friend, that you're not going to close unless you prospect. And I will promise you that prospecting is a root cause problem for your team. Almost without exception. I see it over and over and over. How effective are we at prospecting? But we'd like to. We believe in it. That's not what I ask you. Are you doing it? Are your people routinely prospecting? Welcome back to Sales Untraining. Listen, what we're talking about in this particular episode is making sure we've got the right people in the right seats, as Jim Collins would say. And so many times my observation is we don't have the right players. But I want to make no mistake about this so that you don't misunderstand what I'm saying. My first reaction is not, well, they're not performing, let's get rid of them. Oh no, absolutely not. My objective is to develop my people. There's no question about that. I think it's the primary role of a sales leader is to develop your salespeople, the capacity to grow revenue and margin and be more effective in the field. Absolutely is the thing. But if you don't set certain performance objectives and have a plan to develop them to those objectives, then you get caught down the road saying the things that I hear people say. Well, I'm not sure I've done everything I can do. So let me give you 3 things that if you ensure it's a part of your development plan, if you will, it's going to lead you away from that. It's going to put the onus on the salesperson to produce. The very first thing is you have to set very clear pre-hire objectives. When you make the offer, it needs to be clear, hey, this is the kind of people we are. This is how we do things. And these are the expectations that I will have of you to grow and develop. And my expectation is that you're going to have that drive, that initiative, that motivation to further your own career. Now, am I going to be involved in that? Yes. Are we going to teach, train, and coach you? Absolutely. But it's not completely up to us. We're expecting you to make a contribution. We're expecting you to be engaged, and we're expecting you to look at this as a profession that you want to grow into. Now, that's a conversation I have before they hire, before they sign the offer letter, and it's a conversation that I have the first day on the job. As I say, listen, I want to make it clear to you that there is nothing I won't do to help you be successful. On the other hand, your success isn't up to me. I just won't be the barrier. I won't be what gets in the way. See, I'm going to set that expectation from day one so that I don't get down the road a year, 18 months wondering, well, have I done everything? Because if they're not engaged and if they're not meeting me in the middle, then it doesn't matter what I've done really. I mean, to some extent, if you understand what I'm saying is yes, I need to be involved and have a program for them to learn and grow. But if they're not taking part in that and they don't have that internal motor, then why are they working for you? If they don't want to be learners, if they don't want to develop their career professionally, why are they working for you? Number 2, as a segue, we want to have some very clear and distinct learning and growth objectives for them. One of the learning and growth objectives that I would suggest that you have for your team is one of the first things they need to do is visit and become very acquainted with 3 to 5 customers using your products or services successfully who are big proponents of you, to be able to see the product in context, how it works, to talk to that account and know why they chose your company and the things that you've done for them and the problems that you've solved. If they don't know 3 to 5 stories like that, then they don't really understand intuitively how the products work and how they're valued by your customer base. And it is a great learning tool to learn how the products work in a real context. Secondly, I was always big on books and even, going through books together as a team, certain books that I like to use. When I was an executive, the one book that I always had all my people read and went through it with them was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Not highly successful people, highly effective people. Now, that's not a sales book. Phenomenal book for emotional intelligence and understanding others, getting along with the team and creating a great relationship with people inside the office itself. But a number of sales books. And by the way, if you're looking for a list of sales books I think absolutely need to be in every salesperson's library, send me an email, kelly@bizlockerroom.com. I'll send you that list of books. And then I think the third thing that's really important is for that new salesperson to understand from day one, we role play. All right. Now, a lot of people don't like role play. It's poorly done in most cases. A lot of people are trying to make it hard. It's a learning tool. If you do it well, then there are ways to do role play that are highly productive. And listen, if you're not practicing, let me give you a clue. They're practicing on your customers. Is that really what you want? So if you need some tips and tricks on how to do role play, again, email me, kelly@bizlockerroom.com. And certainly I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. You're trying to set a culture, create an environment. This is the kind of people we are. We're learning and growing and developing. And if you're not learning, you're going backwards. My expectation is that you as an individual salesperson are going to take the responsibility for your own career. Now, is my responsibility to develop you as a salesperson? 100%. But if you're waiting on me, then there's a problem because you're not taking your own professional development seriously. Hey, I hope that helps. Do that assessment. Look at your people. Do you have the right people on your team? I'll see you next time.
Sales Untraining is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.